because I remember the last time Shen was left open for UOL. It was actually K that did that. And okay, so now we're surprised. Why do you think we've seen the Nidalee change now from Splyce?
Well, this is a wildly different jungle than what Trashy wants, and picking up the Lucian is not a high priority pick right here. Yes, it worked incredibly well for them in the last game, but you just gave Chachi his best champion. This is a pick that he loves to play, and the Unicorns look way different when they're playing with this Shen compared to everything else. So, I mean, I'm not scared. I wouldn't be scared of moves Nidalee if I were on Splyce.
But what does this do to the rest of the gameplay? If Trashy's able to power farm and get into moves jungle, maybe read him, maybe track him. In the previous game, the Rek'Sai into Elise, Trashy had nearly double CS by 10 and 15 minutes.
Sure.
As well as having, you know, a couple of ganks under his belt.
And that is one thing that Splyce have secured for themselves is a good jungle matchup, because right now the two that you would look at, potentially three, is the Gragas, the Hecarim, or the Graves that we have seen a couple of times, and none of them particularly fare all that well into the Nidalee at all in the early game. So there is the potential now for Splyce to pick up winning lanes and go, well, we'll win lane, we'll win this game. But now they have to kind of deal with the presence from the Shen. We've got the Gangplank available too if Splyce want to pick that up this rotation. It allows them to have Wunder on a matchup in the top lane. And actually, I think that explains why they don't pick up the Shen. They actually aren't going win lane, win game. They're saying, well, we'll have the Gangplank against the Shen anyway. We will match the global presence by having the ultimate. And that is how they'll win the game. So Splyce do actually have a game plan. That's why they've let the Shen go.
And now we can find out how good Wunder can perform on this Gangplank, what sort of impact he will have, and what those barrel mechanics look like, and whether or not that will be enough to overcome the mid to late game impact that Shen will on his Stand United. So jungle picks for move. Hecarim is one of them, as you can see Hilly currently hovering. And then obviously locking in either a support or a mid lane here. Exileh has the option of picking a different mid laner, though has run the Kobbe in the past as well.
Yeah, he has, and we've seen it recently as well. We haven't seen a whole lot of Gangplank coming out from Wunder. Hasn't actually played it in playoffs, but when we have seen it, it's been decent from what we've seen. So Wunder will have his hands on that. Now it's a mid lane counter, unless they do something fancy here, but it's going to likely be the Taliyah with it available into the Ryze. Ryze tends to have a fair amount of 1v1 in the middle lane presence, but Taliyah roams better earlier, so you can snowball other lanes better than Ryze can earlier. Ryze is a little bit more of a skirmisher right now with the way you do that. Wants smaller fights, doesn't necessarily want the big 5-man fights all the time.
Yeah, I really like the sort of the options that Unicorns have drafted. They've got some side lane presence, they've got some global presence, good front line as well. Front line is something that Splyce are not in plenty of supply. Only the Trundle, and even that is optimistic.
Yeah.
That is optimistic at best. So for Splyce, they've drafted what I think is a fairly complex team composition to pull off. But they do have the ability to lead with Trashy. If Trashy can get ahead, if he can put move behind, then Unicorns will never get the chance to set up 1-3-1. They'll never get a chance to use this sort of death ball if they want to.
Exactly, and Unicorns are less looking for 1-3-1. They're looking more for team fighting with the Sivir, with the Shen, the Gragas, like these kind of picks all together. Start a fight, take somebody out before the fight really can progress too long, and at that point Unicorns will have the advantage. Problem is, Splyce have a fair amount of damage when it comes to it. Like, we saw Kobbe go huge in the last game on the Lucian. Unless this game goes super late and he's going the Black Cleaver build, Splyce is going to be able to take a lot of these small fights too.
Now we get to see who's mechanically going to pull them off. The coaches are just about to shake hands. Only 2 Nexuses remain for Splyce to qualify for the World Championship. Sheepy, however, needs to secure 3 victories. Needs to bounce back from that loss. Tracking where some of the support is, you know, Mikyx, Mithy, they're in support of the Unicorns of Love. Freeze, Crepo, Perks, and Vander, however, feel that Splyce have it. I feel that coming into the series, Splyce, if both teams played their best, had the ability to outplay Unicorns.
It's easier to say that when Splyce are 1 game up, Trevor. If only you had said
that
before the series. Not like you said that to me earlier.
No, luckily I have some social media proof, but it's just, it's one of those things where it's like, you look at the strengths of both teams, a proactive team that is messy can be beaten by a reactive team that is playing smart.
Yeah.
However, as the crowd is chanting and yelling, the Unicorns are incredibly strong in the early stages of the game. And if Exileh can get another good early 1v1, this time Flash Ghost for Sencux, no Flash Cleanse, that could be a solo kill. That could be a way to open up this game here for UOL.
May very well be the case. We'll have to see whether Exileh goes aggressive and takes 2 tower shots again. Keep in mind, this is for the last spot for Worlds from the European region. You can see down in the bottom left of your screen, the group draw show will determine exactly where everybody goes in the groups for Worlds. Will take place on Saturday, 10th of September. So either Splyce or the Unicorns will be in that mix.
Yeah, last European spot, and also the second last team worldwide. All 16 teams will be concluded today, as both teams just trading a couple of love taps. Nothing really gained from this, because of course it'll be either Immortals or Cloud9 that'll qualify from NA, and that'll round out the top 16 teams in the world going into the World Championship. And even though Unicorns have appeared on the international stage before at IEM, this will be a World Championship debut for both of the organizations, as well as for G2, of course.
Yeah, there's a lot of young talent going to Worlds from the European region right now.
The changing of the guard, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, for Europe, if you take a look last year and this year, it's shades different on what has happened. Very different region. A new era, you might say, Trevor.
A new era, indeed. Find out whether or not Unicorns or Splyce will be etching their names onto
the Summoners Cup?
Well, I was going to say the 2016 team list. The 2016
I was going to say, I think you might be reaching a little farther.
I can be hopeful. That's
true. That's true.
Between now and Worlds, there's still a lot of time, and regardless of who qualifies, my eyes are on Unicorns now. They had a good lead in Game 1 of the series. They had a optimistic pick in Renekton, which kind of ran out of steam, ran out of gas.
Yeah.
But this time around, the Ryze, the Shen, the Gragas, they won't have that sort of cap when it comes to their impact in the mid to late stages of the game. So let's find out just how much of it they can actually use, as Trashy already stamping some control against Wunder.
Yep, this tends to happen in this matchup. Shen GP early goes Shen's way. It will end up being GP. Will take a lot more of the presence in this setup. But the real thing, honestly, that is the difference between these two is that when you look at it, Trashy is basically everything that the Unicorns wants and needs in a player. Like, he is the one that they put so much behind. Wunder has grown into that. Like, Wunder was there from the start, but at the same time, it's just they didn't rely on him for a very long time.
I think it's important to note, though, despite the fact that Trashy's had this great ability and this great performance, he has choked several times. And he has faltered when the pressure's got the better of him. And that's something that UOL as a team is somewhat guilty of, because they've made every single playoffs they've ever attended. They were regional qualified final boss last year. They're in the finals this year. This is an organization that has had medium levels of success, but doesn't have a title to their name just yet.
And I think that's the funniest thing, because so many people always downplay the Unicorns, whether it's their play style, the players that are on the team. This team has never been in a position where they've had to be in relegations. As you said, they've always made playoffs. Like, this is an organization, whether you like it or not, that is consistently performed now over 4 splits to the point where they are still here, and with multiple different lineups have been very, consistent throughout the Unicorns consistent? You'd never have thought that initially, but they have done it.
They are consistently good while being inconsistent in their playstyle. I think that's kind of a fair thing. And what's also great is, like, the organization and the players, they've also got a lot of personality, which is why the guys on the ground here in Berlin, why everyone always screams their name and screams "Fear Our Horns," because they've built up this loyal fan base and this great level. Now, we're at a pretty standard laning phase here, no advantages anywhere. CS is even. Sivir and Karma, obviously, getting the better of Lucian Trundle for the time being.
Yep. There's a couple extra CS in the wave down there. We'll end up picked up. Ooh, Exileh here, but maybe this is the advantage we were looking for.
Well, Exileh's on the wrong side of the rift, running away from Sencux to Sencux's tower, but he's going to be able to escape with his life.
Trashy's got a ward here, though.
Javelin toss. Oh,
Exile's got a mouse.
Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Exile is able to just sidestep.
Well, as long as
Sven would be happy, right? Yeah,
he would. He would. And Wunder may be happy if he can get some damage down on Trashy, but Trashy's gone back anyway. He's going to force out the TP. But what this does now do is, as kind of always tends to happen, Trashy has been forced back pre-6 now, so it's just delaying that 6 spike for the Shen. So bottom lane, they already get the flash.
Respect flash there from Veritas. Does not want to go toe-to-toe after he was kind of pinched between the wall and the lane by that tower. And important to note that Trashy is having his jungle invaded by Moon. Let me repeat. Nidalee is being invaded by Gragas, but there's a flash forward in the bottom lane.
Here's Taliyah as
Cannon
well.
Barrage comes down. Here comes Sencux, but
Can't actually get anything.
doesn't actually equate. So flash, heal, and exhaust down for the UOL bottom lane in exchange for a flash exhaust from Splyce.
And 2 ultimates. They used both the GP and the Taliyah ultimate, and that was an important timing window. As Trashy does not check that bush. An important timing window, as now he'll know it's there, because the Shen ultimate is now available. The GP ultimate is not. And that was the advantage that they had. Splyce will pick up that ward out of the jungle, but as you said, Move had gone aggressive into Trashy's jungle. Is still a level behind though, so can't really do too much with regards to fighting this early on, so has to go back into his own jungle. But we're back up to this top lane. Trashy and Wunder and go toe-to-toe.
Trying to, but Chachi didn't connect with any of Wunder's toes, so that taunt did not land. Wunder's going to have some more support. Another early back. This time, Kobbe's changing up his item build. When Ghost played previous game, picked up a BF sword this game.
And I like this. This is going to build towards the Essence Reaver build that people have started to go back towards. Here's the turn as well, because look, same thing, 2 games in a row. Splyce are now bailing out into the top side. Unicorns are doing the same. Typically, it's the team with the winning top matchup that will do that first.
Or
Wunder,
the pushing it.
Or the pushing is the other one. That's what I was going to say. Wunder has been able to use the barrels to push it out. I wasn't going to say pushing it, but
I'm going to make that word. Mickey's able to sidestep that taunt by actually walking forward. Chachi caught a little bit by surprise.
you know they can't see you yet, Trevor. You make
touche.
pushing motions.
The Facebook Live thing will go live in about 8 minutes. But 7 minutes rather. Vizicsacsi holds onto his tower. And it looks like Wunder's backed away. So Wunder's moving down bottom. And Mikyx, once again, being bullied out by the double-ranged of the UOL duo.
Yeah, and this is the difference now with Unicorns picking up that Karma a little bit later on. You saw the Sivir Karma locked in, and it's a difficult kind of situation where, you know, you're playing double-ranged, and now Splyce end up with the Trundle because they wanted to flex it, but it kind of ends up in a tough spot where Splyce are like, okay, well, I guess we're just not going to win the laning phase at all, but we're going to have this presence later on in the game. Once again, and that's kind of what Splyce did in the last game too.
Yeah, and taking a look at some of the presence, move on screen down 20 CS to Trashy, but Kobbe, who's being forced away, is down 20 CS to Veritas. A gigantic fight is breaking out in the top lane. Hylissang's going to flash away. Stand United will finish its channel. And that's a barrel knocking away. Sencux is in trouble, trying to clear out the wave, getting the help of the tower. The seismic shove knocks Chachi backwards. Sencux getting away with his life. First blood not secured yet. Move throws out the barrel as Splyce are running away. Not done yet. First blood not secured. But first tower blood is on the cards. And UOL, they're knocking on Splyce's door.
Yeah, but Splyce still are trying to just deter them as much as possible. Wunder's pushing in the bottom lane, but look, the push top is going to be stronger, but the minions are dying. That is the key thing for Splyce here, is they used the GPL to take away the minions at first, and now the second wave has pushed up. I think this is barely going to be in favor of the Unicorns, because Wunder had to back away. In fact, that bot tower is still so much healthier. It's going to be in the Unicorns' favor here.
Strong play from Unicorns. They don't get the kill, but they should get tower first blood. Yes, Wunder's not even hitting the UOL tower. And Veritas knocks it over. Plus 1,000 gold, plus 1 tower. And the UOL squad are in the lead. Those are the plays that Unicorns do and have done throughout all of the postseason to get these advantages and put pressure on their opponents.
Yeah, and a lot of the teams that they played against have kind of crumbled under that. And Chachi takes a little damage. But, you know, Unicorns making that active play into the top side. Wunder used his ultimate. And I didn't see how many minions were in the wave at first, but the wave was just joining. Like, a couple of seconds later and the wave would have joined, they would have cut the second wave off as well, and Unicorns would have been completely deterred. So if we do end up seeing that sequence again, it would be interesting to see how many minions were in that wave, but certainly Splyce coming out on the bad side of that, despite not using their teleport on Wunder to join the fight. They were relying just on the GPL, which we've seen work for teams time and time again. This time, it wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, not this time around. Both teleports available for Wunder and Vizicsacsi. Stand United will be up in the not-too-distant future. Looking down through some of the itemization, BF Sword and Longsword for Veritas, as well as Berserker's Greaves. When you've got a CS advantage of 25, obviously going to give you the item advantage. No real surprises everywhere else. Runic Echoes with Green, Smite for both Trashy and Move. And Kobbe, this game in comparison to the previous game, has not been able to get ahead and punish that Renekton. Because, of course, what allowed Kobbe to do so well in the early game previous was pushing Renekton away. And this time around, the fights in the engages have forced Kobbe to fall behind.
Trashy coming into the enemy jungle, and you can see one of the other pickups here without the cleanse now. Sencux getting himself the Mercury Treads, wants a little bit more MR and a little bit resistance to some crowd control effects. But
of which there are plenty.
Of which there are a lot, so good luck with that. Exactly. Cleanse, I guess, on its own, probably not going to do a lot in this game with just the one. Yeah. Maybe, but nevertheless, opting for that Ghost, trying to roam faster, trying to get out onto side lanes, perhaps, for Sencux and the rest of Splyce.
We need to see what is the impact of that tower being down top have, because Kobbe and Mikyx were covering, but they backed away. This time around, Trashy connects with a taunt and throws on a couple of auto attacks. Really gets the better of that trade.
Blocks out all of the return damage as well from Wunder. But this top lane is going to be a bit more of a farm game for a while. Wunder does have his ultimate, as you said. The top laners, both of them are up with both of the TPs, so they can have influence elsewhere. But Wunder needs more time. Still not at that Triforce. Looks like we're going for a mid play here on the tower. But
there's the support. There's a potential dive from behind on the hunt used by Veritas. His move actually waddled his way in, able to get away. So Sencux's wave clear was strong enough to at least deter the tower push, but also, to be fair, UOL didn't truly fully commit to that.
But look at this. Splyce didn't really commit to a defense either. They pushed up in the top side with Kobbe. He's looking to farm up further and further, but he's still behind in that CS, keep in mind. So is looking for that build to build later into the game, so Kobbe's not in too much of a hurry.
Yeah. Not
going for that Black Cleaver build that gives you the earlier spike, looking for later on in the game.
The thing is, he's chasing an ADC that is always, in my mind, going to have a better headroom. You know, like, even though, yes, he's going to spike later, Sivir, I think, is still going to do more, especially if big, messy team fights break out, which is what Shen, Gragas, Rise really want to set up.
Yes, certainly in those team fights where there are a lot of members, Trashy TP's in, taunts away, gets himself out. That's the tower going down. But bottom side, look, there's the reaction coming out from the Unicorns. Veritas and Hylissang are pushing down as well. But the GPL, this is the one that they needed from Wunder. He TP's up to the top side, uses the ult on the bottom side, and this gives Splyce the ability now to push back Trashy from the top side as well, and maybe look for more.
Oh, they definitely can. Javelin toss comes in from Trashy. Actually does a surprising amount of damage to Trashy. They're looking at his items. He doesn't have MR. And Exile could get cut off. Weaver's wall comes down, locking Exile in. He flashes over, but Trashy follows suit.
Ooh, the channel.
Stand United has been channeled. They traded a couple of flashes for that. So, flashes for Stand United, and now Splyce, they're turning the pressure on the tower.
Splyce want to go on this mid lane tower. You can see they're constantly throwing out spears, constantly throwing out damage, but at this point, the wave is gone.
Yeah, very, very good taunt away by Trashy. Looked like he was going to get caught by the shove. And Splyce, even though they don't get the tower, they get chip damage on the top inner and the middle outer, both of them down to about 50 or so %.
And again, now it's Splyce's turn to step back in this game. The GP, Wunder can't actually do anything in the top side, so he probably should have just recalled out earlier anyway. But they just need more time. Like, Wunder is ahead in this matchup. He is going to be able to have more presence the later this one goes. So all they need to do is take a step back. They got some objectives. They can reset and look for another one again.
And of course, looking at the itemization, Essence Reaver picked up for Veritas, Trinity Force completed for Wunder. Wunder's got a pink ward in that bush just to his side. I want to see how long it survives before he goes to check.
A long time.
There we go.
Oh, the barrel.
Okay.
Okay,
I got excited. I thought he was gonna ignore it for a little bit.
That's a weird one. Because people are going to be like, oh, Wunder could hear. But no, that's not the fact. We're actually in...
It's actually a super common barrel placement for GP's top because it gives you an exit path.
It does.
So you can run out, pop a barrel, get that movement speed, and run away. Actually, last weekend, semifinals, Hornsa had some amazing barrel mechanics in the NALCS to escape those exact gangs with some good usage of flash. Something I do not have in my repertoire. Barrel mechanics. We'll get back to that in a second as Blue Buff is being channel. Okay.
Move gets to Blue Buff. We're going out. Look,
Right,
okay, Unicorns are going to try and take themselves to 93. But Wunder now up in the... Exploded both barrels, and neither of them hit Trashy. Now has to ult himself, but...
Taking a lot of damage, but Cannon Barrage will help out. And Vizicsacsi recognizing the threat of Sencux coming up, or leaving lane rather. So either walking across the water, more likely just good communication. The moment Sencux left, you can see Trashy kind of bailed out of that fight.
And the fact that, you know, it started telling them that Sencux was moving to the top side allows Move to get down into the Dragon Pit, look to take out this Mountain Drake, look to take out another objective. So Unicorns, at this point, it's a roughly even game when it comes to gold, but the objective game is in their favor. 2 towers already, now they got a Mountain Drake on top of it.
Yeah, and it's just something that the Unicorns team composition does a lot better now with proactive plays. If they want to set up a tower dive with a Gragas or a Ryze, hey, add Shen and Sivir to the combo. If you want to run somebody down, Sivir, Karma, Shen, they destroy anybody. You know, so like, from a gameplay perspective, the Unicorns team composition, it complements their style. It works well with how, as a team, they play. And I want to see how they try to punish what effectively is a no frontline team comp from Splyce.
Well, the way that they're going to punish that is by catching them out in these small skirmishes, and that's exactly what you can see the lower jungle now for Splyce, littered with blue wards. So much vision control down there. You can see Trashy's now trying to fight some of it back away, trying to push back the Unicorns line, but you can see just how much vision they have over the entire area, and that's going to allow them to catch out anybody from Splyce that's looking to move between lanes.
I'm really a fan of that vision toggle from our observers, just highlighting how much information the Unicorns have to work with. But if you take a look right now, you can see the entire group up here from the Splyce members setting up for... This is for the tower. If a dive opportunity presents, great, but you're not going to do that into Gragas or Shen.
They're looking for the siege, exactly. They're trying to push back with the Nidalee Spears, try and get as much as they can, get some pillars out. It allows you to hit crowd control, hit damage effects like skill shots a lot easier once you get that pillar because of the slow. And then suddenly, you can half-health someone, push them back away from the tower, but it's not enough when there are 4 members of the Unicorns sitting there.
So you can feel the tension building. We're approaching 20 minutes in game time. Even game. Yes, there's a tower and a dragon to UOL, but neither team has control, and neither team is dictating what is happening. I'm taking a look down summoner spells. Only a flash is missing for Exileh, and Unicorns start themselves off. There was the on the hunt blown. It's just for the Scuttle Crab. They really wanted Stress.
They wanted that Scuttle Crab, but it also now has forced Splyce to run up the river, and that allows Unicorns to cut into the mid lane again. Now they can look to push that one back out. They can push Splyce further and further away and then try and get some damage, but the problem is Sencux is sat behind that tower. He can clear it out and make sure that they can get themselves into the mix again.
We'll find out what happens. We're almost at 19 minutes. Still no first blood secured. And over on Facebook.com/LOL Esports, we have a behind-the-scenes caster look. Hello. That's for Facebook viewers. For everyone else that's watching the actual stream, Seismic Shove, that was very close. Move almost got knocked into the middle lane.
Just doesn't quite have enough lift for a Gragas.
No. You need way more power to lift that man. But Stress, 30 seconds.
Bot lane, hang on. Watch out, Trevor. There's 4 people heading down there. Although they head back to wait. I'm sorry, I'll let you go.
I think Exileh is going to be able to pull the Houdini move once again. Got access to level 2 on that Realm Warp. And it just feels like some decision making. Very good flash. Exileh not going to need it.
Fight in mid and in bot though. You can see, look, Sencux had to ghost.
Okay, Cannon Barrage will try to clear out the wave this time around. Sencux, no cleanse, remember. He sidesteps and dances around the Shadow Dash taunt, but Unicorns, they've got
Coming up the
themselves
river,
a tower.
though. Look at Splyce. They're coming up the river now, and if Unicorns can't back themselves away, which they just barely do, Splyce could maybe have turned that around, but Splyce are getting run around the map. Again, Unicorns having a power game.
We're approaching the slowest first blood in summer. 21:51 is the timer. That's what we're looking for. And after Splyce, they group up. They push themselves down to the bottom lane. Yes, they get Exile's flash, but they do not get the tower. And Unicorn's response easily secures that mid-outer tower, gives them the third of the game, and they are taking advantage and pushing forwards.
Unicorns, again, are doing a good job of getting residual vision control after they've moved into an area, leaving wards down, and it kind of gives you an idea of where Splyce are on the map. This time it's in the top side. That's where they were kind of angling around towards Rift Herald. Now, of course, it is the Baron that has spawned, so Unicorns are now going to go into the bottom side, try and get themselves vision down there, but they have to be careful because Trashy is here. Sencux is around as well, has his ultimate.
Well, a lot of damage put down into
Oh, hang on, look, they're caught bot.
Taking a look down bottom, Kobbe's in trouble.
They got
Pinned
him.
against the wall. That's first blood. Picked up by the Unicorns of Blood. Now Mikyx in trouble. He's been surrounded by the Unicorns. There's no support from Splyce. Splyce are peeling away to the mid lane, and Mikyx going down. Shadow Dash does not connect, but the big barrel does. Move gets the second kill.
Sencux used his ultimate from this. Wunder didn't have his available. They've managed to deter in mid as well.
It's not done yet. Teleport's coming in, but the taunt doesn't connect. Vizicsacsi's trying to look for Wunder, looking at the supports in the minimap, and the rest of Unicorns, they're running the way up the river. Wunder's going to be able to escape with his life, but it's Unicorns. They get the tower, they get the kills, and they get out.
It's all about the Unicorns being able to collapse with the Sivir, with the Karma. So many people that are able to just start this fight. Everybody has some kind of effect to get it started. Unicorns want another tower.
They're not done yet. Cannon Barrage is buying some time.
Ooh,
The pounce
Exile.
forward from Trashy, and the exhaust comes out. Culling is way too short, son. You can't get Exile.
wow,
He's
Wunder.
running for his life. Wunder's on the back line, flashes away. He ain't no tank, and he gets dropped where he stands. A pounce forward from Trashy. He's
Here's
farmed up
Sencux.
the damage. Now Chachi's running for his life. Seismic shove finds nobody, but Trashy's looking for more. Javelin toss from human form. Not going to
Nope.
be thrown out, and it's a 1-for-1 trade in the back end of the fight.
But now Splyce are going to look to push down mid-tower, so even up the objective control that came from it. Veritas can't handle this on his own here, gets pillared back, but Splyce are going to retreat, lick their wounds a little bit, and hold this game roughly even. There is a Mountain Drake on the Unicorns, so they will look to maybe build on that with a Cloud Drake that has spawned, but Splyce will be at least kind of content with that last minute of play after eventually getting the next step. So this was the collapse. Veritas gets some damage down over the wall. A lot of damage came from Move actually there.
Yeah.
A lot of AD carries will tell you just how painful it is to get E-R comboed by Gragas.
Plus auto, plus Q.
Yeah. Plus everything. Hit him with a W, hit him with a barrel. Hang on, Baron is being taken already. We need to go full screen.
Well, we have just gone full
It's
screen.
gone.
Secured. Unicorns did it. We were in a replay, and Baron is just secured. Stress. Early game. Proactive. Aggressive. We said at the beginning, this is exactly what Unicorns need to do if they want to pick up games, and maybe the series against Splyce.
It looked like Splyce just backed away after getting mid-tower, which normally would be the right thing, but Unicorns seem to have already made the decision to go for the Baron. They were already running out there, and of course, keep in mind they have a fair amount of mobility. Did they use any TPs or anything? Like, Ryze is still available on his ult. Didn't use anything like
No,
Silver Ultimate,
they
like
just
he
snuck
just the
it.
Karma, and just ended up there taking down the Baron. We didn't see the build to it, though.
And if you step back, though, game one and most of this game, the vision control that Unicorns have had has been great. The vision control in terms of playing the map, in terms of, you know, controlling the proactive plays. Ground Warp, Wunder's in trouble. He's just going to get run down. Exile pops up and says, hello. Picks up a very easy kill.
And for as good as the transition time for Splyce to move lane to lane typically would be when you look at it, GP with teleport, you've got a Talia, you've got a Nidalee that's fairly mobile. Unicorns with the Rise, with the Shen, they're able to bring people over very, very quickly, and Move came along for the ride that time.
Yeah, but what does this mean looking forward now? Baron secured, a couple of kills, complete control for UOL, an easily secured Baron. They've got a team comp that can use Baron, but is it all on Shen?
It means Wunder's got to put in some work, and the fact that he just died makes for a very tough set of next few minutes through this Baron buff, because Wunder is going to be the late game presence that Splyce actually need here. Talia, for this game, really hasn't done much at all. There's been a little bit of wave clear. There's been some times where, you know, using the wall to block people off. But when it comes to actually carrying, that hasn't been too much. So Wunder now is really the only one that's in a position that is going to be able to do too much. Kobbe can do damage, but it's not going to match up to Veritas in the late game.
It's going to be so tough. And again, no real front line here for Splyce. How do they start fights? That's what we got to figure out. Well, it helps if you can catch Exileh with the shove in a 2-on-1.
Oh, he went back!
They're going to throw everything at him. Cannon barrage as well. Stand United's being channeled, but Trashy's been left for dead. The taunt comes out. Splyce bailed. They just bailed out. They lose Trashy. They lose the inner turret. And now Unicorns can take even more.
Yeah, it looks like they might be on the brink of losing game 2 of this series. Veritas has to be careful here if he's on Warpath with Wunder still around.
All right, so Baron buff slowly wearing off. About a quarter of the time is left. Tower number 5 falling to Vizicsacsi and Exileh. And the rest of Splyce, again, this team composition, no engage, no front line. Now they're behind 5,000 gold. You can have all the scaling in the world you want. If you can't make something happen, it's never going to work. Veritas just gets out of range.
Didn't quite catch Veritas out with the shove. Sencux even now takes damage. You know, for as good as his Tilia was in the last game, Sencux actually hasn't just offered much at all in this game.
It's 0-0-0?
Exactly. But the thing is, like, it's not like he's playing bad. There's just nothing coming from it.
Yep.
It's not really doing much for Splyce because they're being beaten around the map by the Unicorns. The Unicorns are getting there faster. They're using the Rise, the Shen, everything to group around faster. And you can see they're going to do it again here. So initially, this is great by Sencux. Shoves Exileh under the, under towards the turret. They're able to get good damage down, but here's the Shen ult coming, moves coming in from the side. Sencux sees this. Trashy can't bail out yet. And Sencux is saying, well, I'm not going to go 2 versus 3 because we're going to lose that.
Yep, do not want at all. So, Nidalee, first rotation plus Lucian. That Nidalee's not really working out for Trashy. Despite some positive plays on Talia, has no impact because, as you've mentioned, Stress, the game is collapsed from the side lanes. You know, the weight of the Shen Gangplank and Exileh playing that mid to late game Rise in the side lane is just collapsing, and now all these item thresholds are being hit. UOL are just substantially in the lead.
And this was the risk of allowing the Shen through. And not only allowing it through the draft, but then allowing it in past the first rotation for the Unicorns to pick up after they'd already got the Civic. You're basically handing them a composition that is very good at fighting. I can see what Splyce wanted to do with the Gangplank and say, well, we can match you later, but yeah, it hasn't got to that point for Wunder yet. He still needs even more time as the Unicorns are going to keep pushing forward in this, looking for top tower, but they've been denied for now.
So Exileh really just playing on the front line. Got an interesting stat from our stats benders, which I'll deliver in a second. Chachi's going to get run down.
There's an Earthbender.
Try to anyway. Flashes up. Everything misses. Sencux finds nothing. And that is just a good summary of the game. Exileh's been playing on the front line so much. He's received 11,000 damage this game. Now that does include minions. On the other hand, Sencux has received 5,000. Now, when you have a player champion that's 3-0-1 and has been fighting the whole game, I think that does work. Thank you, Stats Benders, for that piece of information. But for now, Unicorns need to bend that advantage, bend that lead, and break Splyce's base. They're on the inhibitor turrets.
They're trying to, but snakes aren't exactly like, you know, they can bend them, but they'll just move back. That's exactly what like their bone structure is made to do. So you can't really do that too much, but maybe like tie it in a knot so that it can only like bite itself. I don't know.
Hey, that's what Splyce did this game. Tied their team composition into a knot after falling behind. Now Vizicsacsi, full uber mega tank. Spirit Visage, Sunfire Cape, Randuins. Ain't nobody taking him down. There is not enough time left in this game for Vizicsacsi to go down without making a monumental error.
Yeah.
And overcommitting.
Oh, it's just not really been a game that Splyce has come out of the gates on. Like, they knew that they needed time for the GP, and they tried to make that play up into the top side early on, but this has been a fairly slow pace from Splyce outside of that. They tried to force a couple of plays in the enemy jungle, but never were getting the results time and time again. Unicorns escaping on tiny amounts of health. Even in game 1 that was happening too.
And you know, we got very excited about the style in which Unicorns earn their lead. but it is not a surprise. You know, it is something that everybody should expect coming into Unicorns games, that in the first 10 to 20 minutes of gameplay, they will find ways to create opportunities. They will find ways to either pressure a tower or pressure a player. For better or worse, Unicorns will do it. That is what matters. And then, of course, that fantastic Baron call. Good hit.
Oh, gets another one just on the way out. And I don't really feel like Trashy's Nidalee is one that is fitting stylistically for Splyce.
Yep.
I think he's had a decent game. I think the pick has worked for a lot of junglers. But when you look at what Trashy is typically doing, he's, you know, engaging fights. He's able to track the enemy jungler and neutralize them in the early game. It's less about carrying himself, more about setting his team up to carry.
And also being on that front line, being an initiator. Like, Trashy is one of the biggest fight starters for the team. Weaver's Wall comes out, but it's simply too late. It does nothing but highlight the problem that Splyce are in. Mikyx is going to sidestep away. Spirit Refuge comes out as well as the Cannon Barrage. That's a bunch of ultimates thrown down from Splyce. They've lost another Baron at 31 minutes. And with this Baron, Unicorns can just look to play those side lanes, knock over an inhibitor turret, and then make those first steps towards putting a win on the board.
Yep, making ever so many steps of the Unicorns. I'm very impressed with how they've played this week. I mean, we were having the discussion coming into this week in this series of where the other teams were, and it's undoubtable that Unicorns have got to today's match through good play themselves and their enemies not showing.
Yep.
A combination of the both. But to get past Splyce, who have shown us in game one, they are at least, you know, close to the top of their game. Unicorns are going to have to pull out more. And this game is a good example of the Unicorns doing well, while Splyce are kind of on the back foot and don't have any answers to it.
And I also think you have to give some credit to Unicorns' pick and ban phase, changing things up from game 1 to game 2. And then also now punishing the Splyce composition. At 10 minutes, UOL committed a 5-man dive to a tower, basically. And it led to them eventually getting that tower first blood. Now the inhibitor turret is under pressure. Stand United being used on Veritas. Culling goes down. Mikyx in trouble. Subjugate comes out. That will buy some time, but the tower still stands. Veritas took a lot of damage early on and was forced to back away. And the rest of Unicorns, they peeled away. Top is pushing towards Splyce as well, as Wunder gets taunted up by Vizicsacsi. I think he went for a flash taunt there. And Wunder's going to flash away with his life. This will result in the tower. No kill onto Wunder, but knocks him away with the explosive cast. Seismic shove finds no target, but the inhibitor is being hammered away on. Veritas gets the ricochet down. That'll clear out the wave. That'll open up the base. And now there's super minions as well.
Oh, Trashy, hang on. Whoa, Trashy nearly gets ricocheted to death. Wunder's in behind them. But the minions are always going to push because of the level advantage that Unicorns have. Look at it, Exile's 18 to 15, Veritas 17 to 14. What this is going to do is with the minion empowerment on the level advantage, they're always flooding forward for the Unicorns towards Splyce. So Splyce have no room to make plays around. This maybe is the last ditch for them.
It is going to be with Baron and levels and minions and everything in Unicorn's favor. Exile's looking for Trashy. Kobbe's running for his life. Chachi's dashing into the front line. Inhibitors dropped as now Sencux is the target. Overload after overload is being thrown down.
Scary.
Defensive flash away from Sencux. Nexus towers are going down. The crowd erupts in cheers. Move finds no one at the body slam, but he's zoning them away. Vizicsacsi is looking at the Nexus. The rest of the team of Splyce are falling. It's a double kill for Veritas, and Unicorns, they tie up the series.
Unicorns basically just won the game with all 5 members of Splyce still alive in their base. If it